Real quick, just stepping in to remind everyone that I have a movie channel. Check out my movie channel if you want. It's Jackson Kruger Movies. The link is in the description below, so if you're tired of just hearing my bad sports takes and want to also hear some bad movie takes, make sure you check that out. Again, link is in the description below. All right, let's talk about tight ends. It's an interesting list, as I do feel like we're in a unique era with tight ends. I think that there's a lot of young guys who have kind of really stepped up and played well recently. So, without further ado, let's just get into the list. Number 10, I'm going with a first-year player last year, Dalton Kincaid, who was really good for the Buffalo Bills last year. It was PFF's 20th highest-graded tight end, so, not quite top 10 just yet. There's a bit of a projection going on. I think you could argue there's maybe a tight end or two that are better, as in terms of like last season, but even so, I thought he was really good last year and maybe was a top 10 tight end last year by my book. So when you factor that in, and the fact that he's a rookie, should continue to get better, feels fair to put him in the 10 spot. My next pick is another guy who didn't quite make it inside the top 20 in terms of PFF grades, David Njoku, but I don't just listen to PFF grades. I watch film on these guys, and, he was the 21st graded player. He has been top 10 in the past. Interesting career for Njoku, who was kind of a guy that was a really hyped up prospect coming out of the draft, didn't quite live up to the hype for a while, but eventually has found his footing as a really good receiving option who can block as well. I think that his, value in that Browns offense, and I also wonder how much would you see maybe some like grades like that go up if he was getting easier competition, right? I think Njoku was, usually their number 2 option a lot of times last year, with Cooper obviously being number 1. I think he's really good, and that's why I have him here at number 9. My next pick is number 8, Kyle Pitts, who wears number 8 for the Falcons and wasn't drafted number 8. I think he was their most recent pick to not be drafted with the 8th selection, as they keep picking 8 now. Also, outside of the top 20, I guess outside of the top 19, 22nd PFF graded tight end. But I don't know. I think Kyle Pitts is still a really good receiving tight end. Hasn't lived up to the hype just yet. He did still have 1,000 yards as a rookie. That's not easy to do. Has kind of struggled to get playing time. And let's just be honest, the Arthur Smith scheme isn't exactly a great one. So, it has had success in Tennessee. I think that was with an elite level running back, which, I like Bijan. I like Tyler Algier. I don't think either are, Derrick Henry. But still, I think Kyle Pitts has shown enough. I'm willing to put him on the list, but I can't put him that much higher just because, we haven't seen it as consistently as maybe we would have liked. Number 7, a guy who's finally in the top, gets inside the top 20 in terms of PFF grades at 16, Dallas Goedert, who has really been consistently a really good player for the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like, 16th highest graded player last year, but he's been consistently in the top 10. Every other year he's been in the league, he's been in top 10. Just 2 years ago he was 4th. Again, feels like a kind of a do-it-all type player. Basically, everyone for Philadelphia took a step. Basically everyone took a step back last year for Philadelphia, I guess is fair to say. So who knows how much of that was coaching and things like that. And it's still one of the better receiving, I would say, not just receiving, one of the better just all-around tight ends in the game. There's better receivers, and I think those guys are higher up on the list. I do value receiving more than anything else, but blocking still matters, and he can do it all, so he's number 7. Number 6 on my list is maybe a bit of an overreaction, but like I said, I really value the receiving, and Trey McBride's receiving was like borderline elite last year at the tight end position. His blocking is what it is. He's not atrocious there, but that's just not what makes him special. He can block if he has to, but he's there for his receiving. So while Goedert, definitely blocks better, I just think, it's a passing league. You want a guy who can get open. McBride can get open in a big way. So, 1 year wonder, that's a bit of a concern so far, but I'm still putting him at number 6. Number 5, I'm going TJ Hockenson of the Minnesota Vikings. They traded a second-round pick for him a little bit ago, and it has really paid off. I think that he has been very good. He was PFF's 3rd highest-graded tight end last year. Kind of similar to McBride in that his receiving is what makes him special. That's why he's out there, is his receiving, but he's a better blocker than McBride is, so that's kind of the differentiating factor there for me. really good player. But now let's go to Sam LaPorta. So if I'm going from a guy who used to be a Lion to a guy who is a Lion, Sam LaPorta, who was just unbelievable last season. Again, talk about receiving. I think his receiving was even better than McBride's or Hockenson. I would say his blocking still leaves to be, some stuff to be desired. I think Hockenson is the better blocker still. But again, he's out there to catch the football, and that's what he does at a pretty high level. So it's still 1 year. Because of that, I couldn't quite put him above the top 3 who have kind of been a top 3 for what feels like a decade at this point. But for number 4, who's the guy who's next most likely to be a top 3 tight end next year? I think it's LaPorta. And again, part of why I'm putting him this high is I'm expecting him to continue to improve, which is kind of crazy to think given how good he was as a rookie. So yeah, number 4. Number 3 is Mark Andrews, who I've had as high as at 2 in the past. I do think it's a real debate between him and Kittle. Kittle's number 2. Spoiler alert. But I think you knew once I put Mark Andrews at 3 who number 2 and 1 were going to be. But again, someone who, if you like PFF grades, has been a top 3 tight end according to PFF grades in 4 out of the last 5 seasons, and he was 10th that other year. So really consistently good. Is coming off an injury though, so because of that, that's kind of what docked him a little bit. And I thought Kittle had a really good year, so let's just get to Kittle. Kittle at number 2. Again, we all know what he is, right? He's a dominant, not just in the pass blocking, or not just in the run blocking game, although he is dominant there, but also in the receiving game. He's the definition of a do-it-all type guy, and if that's more your thing, I think putting him at number 1 on your list is totally reasonable. But like I said, I do value a guy who's a great receiver more than a guy who's a great blocker. He does both, though, so that's why he's still number 2, but there's one guy who is in the GOAT conversation who I had to put at number 1, and that is Travis Kelce, who you can argue Travis Kelce, in fact, I think it's just fair to say he had a down year last year. He was still PFF's highest graded receiving tight end last year and second highest graded overall tight end. So, well, I get, and Kittle was number 1 last year, so I get putting Kittle above Kelce if you want to, but it's just like, man, I mean, okay, maybe this is just a dumb take, but like, look at the Super Bowl and look at how big of a difference the impact those two players had. Kittle didn't have a great game. Travis Kelce had an unreal game. I'm not saying I don't trust Kittle in a big moment, but I definitely trust Kelce in a big moment. So I think it's fair to still keep Kelce at number 1. I think Kittle has to knock him off the throne. I don't think it's Kelce's going to just climb off the throne, I guess is what I would say. I think I could totally see this flipping next year, but I'm still going to give Kelce the nod as my number 1 tight end. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.